Rod Baker, God and Rod. The thing I would like to talk a little bit about this evening is history. History. I think there's a saying that was said that if you don't know your past, you're liable to do it again. So history is an important part of your future. And we as Americans, as a human race, as people, often sabotage our future because of our past. We sabotage it. The mere fact that you think something is going to be the same old way or the same old thing, due to the fact that you don't put history into perspective, into the right case by case, that immediately you give up on something that has the possibilities of being the most beneficial thing in your life. But you give up on it because you don't have history into its proper perspective. One of the things that we contended with as a country was people that wanted to erase our history. You can't erase history. You can rewrite it. You can have the same old perspective of it, but you can't change the truth of it. And there's not any of us that haven't at one time or another looked back and said, "Dadgummit, I wish I wouldn't have made that decision. Dadgummit, I wish I would have handled that different. Dadgummit, if I would have only seen clearly, if I would have seen differently, if I would have known the truth, I'd have done different." We've all done that. We've all had that moment of clarity where regret comes into perspective, brings things into perspective. It becomes a useful tool. And then once we thoroughly examine that regret, examine that situation, and realize that it was our emotions that caused us to handle the situation the way that we did, the emotions that maybe we were still stagnant in our emotions. We were still looking at things from a 7-year-old or from a 14-year-old or from a 17-year-old point of view. Some of us that have matured more than that, maybe we look back and look at things and it reminds us of our 20s, our 30s. See, so if you don't allow your emotions to grow, which is work, putting those old things aside, not flipping your lid, so to speak, but putting that past into its proper perspective, or at least coming close to it. At least getting to a place where you can thoroughly examine the past and not relive it. Because the truth is, no matter what happened in the past, it's not going to be exactly the same thing as your present or your future. Yes, similarities will be there. Triggers, as we call them. Triggers. Yes, we will have those triggers if we don't properly deal with our emotions from the past. I was speaking to somebody earlier today about rejection. And I've heard wonderful things about rejection. Rejection is God's protection. My, what a claim. What a way to really justify, somebody thwarting your offer. Even if your offer was really never made, it was an assumption. It was almost presented. Can't you take a hint? Those are fine words. Can't you take a hint? Not everybody can. Not everybody does. Not everybody's ready for the hint, more or less the offer. If you're going to make an offer and stick to that offer. I think that's the other thing that we run into, especially with emotions, is that offers that are made, they're really half offers. A lot of people walk into covenants or AKA nuptials with half measures, half offers. If it doesn't work out, we can get out of this. Or, you know what? I'll just keep this other person on the side while I marry this one. Oh, that's called adultery. Now you're getting into a whole different spiritual realm because the ramifications of that emotional decision that turns into a physical manifestation. Yeshua said that just look at somebody with that kind of mentality means death to your mind, to your soul. For the soul is the mind, will, emotions, affections, and desires. That is the soul. So what is it for a man to gain the whole world but lose their soul? To lose their soul because of emotions that were not mature, that were not raised, that were not brought forth, that were not matured. To lose your soul because you were still a child emotionally. You were still a teenager emotionally. You were still young and dumb emotionally. What's it worth? What's it worth to grow up? To begin to understand the maturity of commitment. And all of the benefits that come with commitment. All of the, knowing somebody so well that there's great trust there. That it's the kind of thing that you can put a blindfold on if you needed to, and they can lead you. It's not the blind leading the blind. It's the other part of you leading you. The one who can still see. The one that sees all of you. The one that knows you. And we have people that seem to be running around in the world that this doesn't matter to. And they're beginning to age. Thank God for hospice. Because in the old days, family Family was there holding your hand while you took your last breath, praying with you, easing you to the other side. Now, there are many that it'll be strangers that take you to the other side. And I don't think they're going to be holding your hand. I think they're going to possibly be pilfering. It's a job. It's a job. And in no way am I discrediting those who sit with the dying. No, I'm not. Not by any means. For I've done it. I've looked them in the eye as the light faded. In all kinds of different scenarios. And it can be burdensome. So in no way am I discrediting those that do that. But what I am doing is giving some information to those who refuse to think of the future. Because you refuse to look at the past. Yeah, you refuse. What a shame. What a shame. To not know what love longevity is. Love longevity. True focus, true commitment, a covenant. And if you can't make a covenant with people who you do see, how will you ever make a covenant with God who you cannot see? If you can't live by the principles that you set for yourself, how can God trust you with his? And he don't lose your address, no matter where you move to. God don't lose an address. He knows when you've been sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows when you've been bad or good. So be good for goodness sake. Devil's gonna get you Christmas. Know your history. Look at your history. Examine yourself. Ask somebody else to help you examine yourself. Man, trust somebody that's worth trusting. So that you don't lose your future. Thanks for letting me share.